Hey guys, Admiral Y11 here. I'm just making this short part before the video to explain what happened last week. Basically, I got really into playing Fallout 4 and I procrastinated a bit, so I wasn't able to actually get a second video out in time. Sorry, it's just a really fun game, and I won some DLC after playing after participating in a TJR trivia, because we had a trivia night and there were prizes and I won and I got stuff. The point is, I procrastinated, I didn't get a second video out, and I'm sorry. I'm going to try to get back on schedule this week. Enjoy the video. All hands to briefing. This is Admiral Y11, and today we're going to be doing a tutorial. Now, one of the most important things for making a YouTube video is the thumbnail. It's one of the things that captures the eye of people browsing on YouTube, gets you to actually watch, or gets them to watch your videos. It's one of the most important things that you have to think of when you upload a new video. And a lot of starting up YouTubers, I don't believe they have access to something like Adobe Illustrator or Adobe Photoshop, the advanced photo editing softwares. The point of this video is to help people make thumbnails without having to spend any money at all, really. Now, you might be seeing on the screen that I already have an editing program up. The name of this program is called Paint.net. It's basically, I like to think of it as a direct upgrade to Paint, Microsoft Paint. It's got the same basic controls, the same familiar setup, but it has features in it that you would see in Adobe Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator. Features that you could use just as effectively in this as you would be able to in Adobe Illustrator. Now, just because I want to go over the basics of, the interface and such, that's what I'm going to be doing this episode. For those who don't actually know anything about editing programs, this video's for you. Alright, so first we'll start at the top. So you've got your basic editing stuff here. You've got File, Edit, View. That's just basic stuff for any editing program on Windows. And then you have Image, Layers, Adjustments, and Effects. These are for use later on in the process, when you're actually manipulating the image. Moving below that, we've got the New button, which makes you make a new image. The Open, which allows you to open an image. Save, which allows you to save. Print, which allows you to print the image, although if you're making a YouTube thumbnail or image for the video in general, you won't exactly be printing it. We've got Cut, Copy, and Paste. Cut cuts the image from here and allows you to paste it somewhere else. Copy duplicates it so that you can paste it somewhere else, and Paste is pasting it. You've got Crop to Selection and Deselect. Crop to Selection will crop to a selected area in the workspace. Deselect will deselect anything you've selected. Next to that, we've got Undo and Redo. This allows you to undo a mistake. This allows you to redo something if you accidentally undid something. Display pixel grid. We'll just display the pixel grid and the rulers. Well, ruler adds this ruler here so you could do accurate measurements. And the pixel grid, when you zoom in, creates this grid for pixels. So if you're doing pixel art using this, that's what you'd use. So that's the basic top bar. Underneath it, you've got your tool, your current tool selected. You've got, if you're using the paintbrush, the brush width, all this stuff. Well, actually, no. Let's go back a bit. These are the images you currently have open. If you have multiple projects open, instead of opening multiple windows, or at least only having multiple windows on the bottom, it'll display them here so you can easily switch. So that's the top bar. We'll get to all this later. Right now we're just focusing on the basics. Just know that this is for manipulation of the tool. Anyways, tools. Rectangle select. basic select tool. Allows you to select in a rectangle. You've got the move selected pixels, which allows you to move your selection around. You've got the lasso select, which basically allows you to freeform select things. This is an important tool when you're making a thumbnail. You're going to be using this a lot. You've got the move selection. This allows you to move your selection area. So if you need to adjust it, you can. You can also resize it as well. Next we have the ellipse selection, which selects in a circle, or an oval, or an ellipse, as the tool name says. The zoom key. 90% of the time you're most likely just going to be using this little slider at the bottom of the screen to do zooming, but this allows you to do it with the mouse, if you so wanted to. The magic wand key, or magic wand tool. This will allow you to select a certain color or colors in an area. It's another important tool you're going to be using. We'll learn more about it later because as you can see at the top bar, it has a lot of stuff. The pan. If you had a larger image, this would allow you to move around. Paint bucket tool. This is the standard stuff with paint. You click on an area and it'll fill it with a certain color. The gradient tool allows you to select two colors and make a gradient like this. There's all different kinds. We'll learn more about that later. When you're doing shading, if you're not doing this is one of the methods you'd do shading with. Next is the paintbrush tool. This is your basic painting tool. Next is the eraser tool. It's your basic eraser tool. You use this to erase mistakes. And later on, when we get into more advanced stuff, crop out images. The pencil tool. It works like the paintbrush, only it allows you to draw in pixels. So if you're doing pixel art or something, this is one of the tools you'd use. The eyedropper, or color picker tool. So, say you had like a color, like you had this color, and you wanted to use this color, but you couldn't figure out which one it was here on the color palette. The eyedropper tool, or color picker tool, what it does is you put it over said color, let's actually change the color there, and it will select that color as your primary color. Text tool. Allows you to make text. Very, very simple. The line or curve tool. It allows you to make this line. And in Paint.net, you can grab these nodes on it and curve it. This will be good for if you want to make outlines and such. And finally, we have the shape tool, which allows you to make, shapes. It's not just restricted to circles and squares either, as you can see. There's a whole variety of shapes. So that was the toolbar. Now we're going to move on to the color bar, which is this right here. This is what you'll use to select your colors. Now you've already got a list of prepackaged colors here, which are good if you want to get like a quote-unquote the gist color, something that's in that range. But you can also use this wheel by clicking and dragging this circle around to make all different kinds of colors. If you want to get more advanced, say, if you want to do a hex code or such, you open this. This shows the RGB, which is red, green, blue, selection here, so you could do the sliders and change the values, as you can see. The hex code is if you go into a hex code generator, you generate a color, and then you would put the code into here. It's the same concept for when you're making a color in HTML. This is the hue tool. So this will change what hue your tool has. This is separate from this. So let's make it green. This is the saturation slider. These are all sliders, by the way. The further you slide it up, the more color an image will have. So if we put it here, it looks slightly faded and such. It's the same thing with here. Basically, you could say saturation is brightness, and I can't remember what V said, what V is, what the actual V means, but this is basically contrast. And then opacity makes the color clear. You're going to be using these as well. Most likely the opacity color. So that was the color wheel. Now we're going to move on to this. There's also this window. We'll get to this lastly, but we're going to do this window first. This is the layers window. This is incredibly important for when you're making advanced images. You click this button and it will make new layers. So let's do something here. Let's draw, whatever. Let's just draw like a red scribbly line here on layer 3. So there you go. Big red blob here. Now on this screen, if you select layer 2, and let's get an image for this. Let's get let's get this guy and put him on layer 2. We'll get over this later. As you can see, the red blob that I put on layer 3 is in front of this gentleman. If this had been all on one page, like on, say, Microsoft Paint, where you don't have this tool, it would look something like this. As you can see here, now the red line is all over his face. So, as you can see, there's all this red line over his face, and you can't just turn off one of these layers and fix it. So these are all on the same layer. Let me just get rid of that. So yeah, layers allow you to make layered images. Layered images on the top will be on top, as such. And it's not just for this, though. You can also edit these layers to do different things. In the layer properties, which is this little button here, you can rename the layers. You can toggle whether or not it's visible, although you don't need this to do that. There's these little check marks, which you can click as well. Does the same thing. You've also got this. This is a more advanced thing. This allows you to do more advanced stuff. We'll go over that at a later time. That's what this tool does. Now, this. This is if you want to go back and do a certain mistake before you did a whole bunch of things. So for instance, if you wanted to go back to when I drew this, you'd double click it and boom, there it is. It works the same way going forward. If you wanted to go forward, you'd go forward, and here we are. Boom. Simple as that. That's the History tab. Normally I don't have this open, but it would probably be useful for beginners. But yeah, that's the basics of Paint.net. Next episode we're going to be going over layering actual images, cropping out images and layering them, that is, what transparency actually does, and yeah, I think that's about it we're going to do next time. So thank you for watching. I hope this helped you. If it did, leave a like. If it didn't, leave a dislike. It's right next door to the like button. If you want to ask questions about certain things involving Paint.net, if you want to ask for help on other certain topics or things of that nature, leave a comment in the comment section asking about it. I'll be sure to respond to it and hopefully make a video on it. If you want to share this because it helped you out so much, hit the share button, share on social media, and if you want more content like this, or any of the content I make, for that matter, subscribe. I'm Admiral Y11, signing off.